All right, so we've covered that. Now, I thought maybe if all was going well and people were enjoying it, we'd meet about one time a month. So that's what I'd try to schedule. We could come in about once a month and and we can run the program for as long as we need. I was thinking, in the 60-minute range, but if we want to go longer because whatever we're talking about takes a little more time, not a big deal. We can do that. Say we're working on a project, we wanted to learn about one specific thing. If it took more than 60 minutes to explain it, maybe we need to break it into 2 different meetings that we do close together. Otherwise, we'll maybe run a little long, or maybe hopefully we'll just get it all within the 60 minutes. But what we do is we want to make sure that we're making it interesting so y'all want to show up. So hopefully that we can achieve that goal. And I know we have people in here that have different varying degrees of knowledge. So we want to tap into everybody's knowledge, or, if you have questions and you feel like you don't know anything, go ahead and still want to contribute. That would be great. But definitely the people that have been using it a while, and I know there's a lot of you that have been using it for a while, if you have something to say, you need to use your voice and share it with us, so that just one person isn't talking all the time, and that would be me. I'm going to try to not talk all the time. You know how hard that's going to be for me, right? So anyway, well, I thought we would go ahead and get started now. And so I had asked for anybody that had a question to turn a question in, and then we would go over the responses. And like I just mentioned, I want you guys to be actively involved in this. So I'm going to read the question. Dave sent in a few questions, all kind of interrelated. And so I'm going to read, I've kind of gone through it. I'll read you his whole write-up that he sent me. And then I will probably just act as the facilitator, sort of. So I will read what I think should maybe be the first question to be answered. And I would love for somebody else to answer it besides me, but I will probably add to if necessary. So if you answer the question, but somebody else is out there thinking, oh, but I have more to add to it, don't be insulted. Just take it for what it is. Somebody just thought of something you happen to forget to throw in there. So we'll throw in more information until we feel like we've covered the entire subject. And like I said, ask any question that you want, anytime you want, and we will, this is informal. So it's kind of more like a chatting back and forth. So let's handle it that way. And before we get started, was there anything anybody wanted to comment on or bring up? All right, so Dave Lorman sent in these questions. So we'll see if we can help him out by chatting about what his questions were. And the first thing, well, let me read the first, his full question, and then I'll break it down for you. But he asked, what's the best way to handle a photo and get it in and work with it in Lightroom and get it out again and find it later? Where to store it? So that was the full question. And when I read it, I thought, great questions. I thought maybe we should start with where to store those images. So the image files, where would you store the image files? Somebody have an idea for me? How about, I could call on somebody, but Marty, Marty, you look like a perfect answer. Where do you store your image files?
Well, I don't know. My Lightroom is in such a mess right now. I'm working on it, but right in Lightroom, when I import something, I import a bunch of stuff and give it a name and put it in made a bunch of categories, and I made the categories and subcategories, and I just bring it into that particular category where it belongs and store it right there in Lightroom.
Well, that's a picture file.
What'd you say, Joaquin?
In the picture, in the directory.
You put yours in pictures?
The picture directory. Where you store your pictures,
Um,
you know.
Jackie,
yes. Scott,
I think that where to store the picture is not exactly the right question, because your original file is going to stay in the same place. It's wherever it is that you downloaded it to out of the camera. The question is, how do you find the picture within Lightroom?
yeah, so let's go back and I was hoping y'all would come up with this answer, but let me go through it real quickly so that we don't start out in the wrong direction. So when you are importing, say you've taken your images on your camera and you want to import them into Lightroom or import them into your computer. When you import them into your computer, I want you to import them through Lightroom. Always go through Lightroom. You don't have to, but it certainly it cuts down one step of the process. So what
Okay,
Lightroom
you are
is,
freezing.
sorry? I'm freezing.
You're freezing.
Okay, talk amongst yourself. But anyway, so let's talk about, so that we get it accurate. And then I'm going to reference you to that class that I taught back in 2019, because I went back to look at it. So class number 1, you need to watch part 1 and the beginning of part 2 for the first 8 minutes. And that will give you, right down the line exactly how to do it. But for everybody, so you know, Lightroom is an organizational tool. It's an organizational tool that has great editing capabilities. It did not start out that way. It was a cataloger. Now it's a cataloger that has really powerful editing abilities. So when you take your photos and you want to get them onto your computer, if you know you're going to use Lightroom, then you should do this by going through Lightroom to import them to where you're going to store them. And storing them, that I started out with that question, was you still have to figure out where you want to store them, whether it's an external hard drive or your computer's internal hard drive. You have to make a decision where it's going to live, and then you're going to tell Lightroom to put it there. And if you watch that video, and this doesn't make sense, I mean, it's spelled, I walk you through all the steps. So you want to find that storage place that works for you, external hard drive or internal hard drive, and then go into Lightroom and do an import. And then that class will walk you through where to import them, or how to import them, excuse me. And so now you will be, if you do that, you will be able to see them. They will be stored properly in your whatever hard drive you pick, and you will be able to see them in Lightroom all the time. So you will always be, as long as your hard drive, if it's an external one, is connected to your computer, you should be able to see it in the file system according to the way you imported it. So if it's in travel and you put it in a travel folder and it was from Arizona, then you should be able to go to your travel folder every time, open it up and see an Arizona folder, and there would be those pictures if that's what your system is. Now, sometimes people put them in by date. Date means nothing to me. Maybe it does to you guys, but I could never remember what day that I visited somewhere. I need to put it by more of a descriptive term. So mine needs to be words as opposed to a date. But if you have a photographic memory for the dates, go for it.
Jackie, what I'll do is I put it in by date, but then I use the tags. So the tags are my way to find the files.
Yeah, if you're still having to search for it a little bit longer, but you could, as long as it works for you, by all means, that goes, that will be fine.
Okay.
When I look at my system, and let's see, would it be helpful if you saw what mine looked like?
Sure.
So I'll do a screen share real quick. And so we go into library. And if you look here on the left, this is my system. Let me go down to the hard drive I'm in. So my system is a RAID system. And so in here, let me close up some of these. I tend to leave things open. But these are, you're seeing my main header folders for here. So mine starts and it's all alphabetical. That's the way it puts it. But anyway, so I have an air show, and in this air show, you can see I have one from 2021 and one from 2022. So that's how I do dates, if I have dates to be involved. I have a lot of flower files, so you can kind of see if I open up my file folders, you can see all the different folders that are underneath flowers. There's a lot. Travel, though, that's the one I gave you as an example. So you can see if I go to my travel folder, I have Alaska 2021. So I actually put a date on that one because I probably won't go back. I don't know if I will or not. If I did, though, sometimes I will have like Colorado. If this were closed up, you just see Colorado. Not sure why it's not. My question marks are still there. But anyway, if I go into Colorado, you can see that I have several different times. I've got, okay, here, we'll do this again. 2009, 13, and then this should have been 2022. And then inside those, I have day 1, day 2, day 3, because that makes sense to me. But if it doesn't make sense to you, then you need to come up with your own system. Because like Bill, you said your system made sense to you. So that's all that matters, is whatever works for you. This is just what works for me. And then Hawaii, I have it broken down by days. Even within a day, I will break it down. If there's several different subject matters that I have covered, like day 1, we did 4 different things. So I have it broken down so I can see what's in there essentially. But I don't know if that was helpful or not, but that's what it is.
Jackie, if I can add one thing, and believe me, this is so important that you're organized or have an organization that you understand. But the thing of it is, I've always said this to anybody getting involved with Lightroom. It's all in, 100% in. Don't be keeping files out of Lightroom and files in Lightroom, because I've known people that have done that, and sooner or later it ends up to being a disaster.
Yeah.
So that's just what I've experienced. I've been with Lightroom since it was a beta program, so it's all in.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And also, you know, what I didn't mention, I did mention maybe you're storing on a hard drive, exterior hard drive. I would also encourage you, if you are storing on an exterior portable hard drive, one of those small little ones, you know, you might consider having a backup always. So when I import to, when I used to import to those, I would import and it would go to 2 different drives. So I would have a copy going to 2 drives, because those drives will fail. It's not a matter of if they will, but when they will. And I just had one fail not very long ago. My computer will recognize it, but I cannot get into it. So it's kind of a squirrely thing. So if you don't have a backup and it fails, then you don't have your pictures anymore, or you have to pay to get them back from some, you know, some sort of backup system, or or whatever, but you might want to consider if it starts to get a little glitchy or a little weird, if you start noticing it, go buy a new one and start the transfer from the old glitchy one to the new one before it totally fails. So that wasn't exactly his question, but thought I would ask. Is there anything you want to see while I've got this open? Because I'll close it back down.
Jackie, is that your catalogs or is that just the files that you set up in your hard drive?
Yes, I only have one catalog and it's pretty full. I mean, it's got a lot of images in it. Let's see. 142,595. So I do have, you can see there's other drives here. These are some of the ones that I used to use. I still have them. So they're sort of my backups now. But they are small portable hard drives. And then I did say, if you're using the small, lesser expensive portable hard drives, be careful, they can fail, which I think they probably all can fail. It's a matter of how long they last, but you might want to invest in a solid state drive as opposed to a spinning drive. That would be up to you. They're a little more expensive, but they're better and they're faster. And like I said, I have a RAID system, which is different yet than that. It's got redundancy and all different kinds of things in there. But anyway, so this is my one catalog showing all my different hard drives that I have used on Lightroom. Some of them don't contain anything, like this one. You see, I've totally emptied it off, but it's still there. I could delete it. I just haven't done it. And then currently 90% of my pictures have been loaded into this RAID and they're all in here. So.
Hello, Jackie, can you hear me?
Yes.
How many terabytes do you need for 140,000 pictures?
I don't know because I never had them on just one. Now I have it on that RAID system and it's got, like I said, it's got a redundancy. I think that thing holds, I can't remember what I bought. I think it has 48 terabytes in it. It's big.
Whoa, that is big.
No,
It's big and I don't know how full it is. I'd have to look. I haven't checked lately. I can't remember if it has 4 12 terabyte drives in it or 4 8 terabyte drives in it.
Wow.
I would say you have a lot of space left.
I do. This should do me forever. I'm hoping. But I didn't want to get them and then find out that it was too small and I was having to rebuy. And the bigger these cameras get, the faster that storage area fills up.
Yeah, from somebody that has a few more pictures, you've got a lot of room left.
Okay, good.
Jackie, how do collections work with this? Because this is your main fold catalog, right? But then
Yes.
there's also collections you can put things into, right?
Yeah, so down below where your catalog is and your all your folders, you can see all your folders, is this section called collections. And I have a lot of collections too. And it seems like I'm always making new ones. So like if I wanted to do a presentation, I would make a new one. And then I would just set aside a select few pictures in that collection. I can get rid of it whenever I want, or I can keep it. So you're looking at collections here. And if you aren't familiar with collections, see these little lightning bolts here? Do you see those to the left of my arrow? Those show that it's synced with the cloud. And what that gives us is the ability to see them on the Lightroom app, if it's on our phone or on a tablet. And so those are synced with, and then you can see them online too. And you can build a website, because if you're on a Creative Cloud, did you know you have up to 5 free websites? So we could do that sometime. We could talk you through how to create a website. You don't, they're just free. So you, they're in my portfolio. So Adobe gives you 5 that you could build. And they're pretty easy. So if that's something you want to talk over, we could do that. But anyway, this shows that I have images in here. Let me find one. And there's just 2 pictures in here. And they're both synced. So I can access them through my phone, like Lightroom on my phone, and show them to friends or whatever I happen to need them to do. But anyway, so you create these, and we have what's called a collection set, which has this, looks like a file box in it. And then below it are collections. So you can take a collection set. I describe it as like a file cabinet. And in that file cabinet, you could have a drawer that has a lot of files in it. And then, so these collection sets would equate to the whole cabinet. And then that drawer would be another collection set within the cabinet. And then a collection would be the file folder that is inside the drawer. And then the images would be your pieces of paper, like in a file folder. Is that kind of a picture for you to understand how they work?
Where's the collection set? How do you get to it?
So this little box right here just signifies that it's a collection set. If you want to create one, you come up to the word collections, which is the header for the this area. And if you want to, you click on the plus sign and you have some options. You can create a collection, create a smart collection. We won't talk about that right now. I don't ever use them, so I would have to actually refresh myself on those. And create a collection set. So I start with creating a collection set. We'll go back to travel. If I wanted to create a big header for all my travel different folders to go into, I would create a collection set and name it travel. And then we'll say I've been to Arizona twice. So I will go and I will say, I want to create a collection set. And I'm going to title it, I'll say it was Arizona 2023. Suppose I was going, and then I want to put it inside a collection set that I'd already made. And so if I scroll all the way down, you'll see travel. So I'll click that. However, I could have just not made another set because I already have an Arizona one, but we'll pretend I didn't. I would click travel, and then it would put Arizona in there. And then we get to that point. So we have a main header as travel, and then one is Arizona. And so now I want to put one in as Arizona 2023. I will just simply do create a collection this time, not a set, but just a collection. I'll title it 2023. I'm going to go looking for that folder that's in travel. There's Arizona. I'm going to put it in there. And I'm ready to hit create. You can do a few other things here, like I highlighted this picture here is highlighted. If I leave this checked, it will put that in my Arizona collection. Or if I want to sync it with Lightroom, I can make sure this is checked. I can make a new virtual copy so that the ones that are on my phone, if it's synced, I'm not messing with my original or my best edit, we'll say. But anyway, I would be ready to hit create. I'll just leave that in there so you can see it. And so it put that highlighted picture in there. So if I come down and I find travel now in my collections, there's travel, there's Arizona, there's 2023, and there's my picture.
I got a question.
Okay, John?
As you do this, let's say you did this with 1,000 pictures. Are you taking up an additional whatever hard drive space for those 1,000 pictures? So they're on the hard drive in 2 places now? Which I
No,
don't care. That's not a problem, but
no, and that's another point. If somebody else has the answer, I'd be happy to let you talk instead of
Okay.
me.
I think,
I'll throw in.
Okay, go for it, Carla.
The collections are just that. It's like a kind of like a file cabinet to where you can put them in, and your pictures never move. You're still going from the
Right.
original picture.
you're then good. That was, I'm thinking, are you gonna
Can
make a
I- can I
copy
say
of the
something?
picture?
this is handle in the directory. Okay,
Okay, that's good.
you figure that the picture itself has little tiny things that have the address of that collection.
All right, that's great. If it's like that, that's great.
You
Well,
know, it's calling computer lingo,
Mhm.
it's the directory, you know,
Yeah.
and it's just, they are just directing, it's all in binary. It's
Okay.
it's no pictures involved.
And what's nice too about the collections is, say if you're making a book and you have, let's say you have a collection of Arizona, but you just want to make a book of some of those pictures. Well,
Mhm.
you can have another collection with those exact same pictures in it. And so it doesn't move them. It just puts a little, like he was saying, just a little tag on it or whatever, that it's in
Right,
this
that's-
collection.
That's great that you're not using up more hard drive space to do that.
Right.
No,
It's
it's
just,
That's a
not like-
concern, but
Yeah,
That's
it's
good.
not, it's not like when you you take a raw picture and you convert it to a JPEG, and then you have to have a file folder to put that picture in it. That's not the case with collections.
okay, good.
Yeah, so
But
when
if
you,
sync it-
when
if
you,
sync it to the cloud, if you sync it to the cloud, it's taking up space in the cloud.
right.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
it's not taking up the full size of your picture file though. So when
In
you
the
bring
cloud?
any picture into Lightroom, you're actually not storing your picture in Lightroom. So yes, it takes up a little bit of space to store the thumbnails that you're putting in Lightroom. Your picture is actually, we'll say you are putting it on your hard drive on your computer, we'll just say, and you had only had a gig going in there, but you had a gig's worth of photos, new photos going onto your hard drive for space.
Mhm.
But the Lightroom is making thumbnails because your images do not live in Lightroom. Lightroom just knows where to find them because you told Lightroom where they lived. So you told Lightroom to find your pictures on your hard drive in this particular folder. And it's got this particular
but
number.
Jackie, when you're coming from a mobile device,
Yes.
obviously you can't get to the hard drive on the laptop.
Okay, so yeah, and it will sync it up to the cloud because these are, if you're doing it from a mobile device, it's syncing to the cloud. So you do have a little bit of storage there. And it
Yeah.
will then, as soon as you connect to your your computer again, it will sync up whatever moves you have made, like on your mobile, it will sync it to Lightroom that's on your computer once you get back onto your computer. And it will hold a little bit, but it's still not, yeah, it's a little different with Lightroom, we'll say. For the most part, I don't use it, so I can't give you a whole lot of information. You may have a lot more for yourself, I mean, that you could share about Lightroom. Lightroom Classic is my thing. I just really don't use Lightroom Mobile much.
Well, I just I was just thinking, and I don't really use it either, Jackie, but I was just thinking from a technical standpoint, if you're accessing it on your iPhone, for instance, the iPhone doesn't have access to the hard drive
Right.
on your machine, so it's got to be storing it up in the cloud some way.
It does. And then, like I said, once you go into Lightroom, when you get home and you go to your desktop, it will start syncing that information to what you have stored on your desktop. And then again, it's not storing the whole picture. Now, if you were using a picture from your phone, I'm not sure how that does that. If that entire picture has to be, well, the picture is stored on your phone. Again, it's still not stored in the cloud and it's still not stored in Lightroom. Your photo is stored in your camera roll or whatever, in your photo file on your phone or on your tablet or on your computer. And so Lightroom is just an organizational tool. Well, with editing powers, but it doesn't house images. It
Well,
only houses thumbnails of images, and they do take up space, but not very much.
in a good way, if you scroll up a little bit on her catalog, you'll see a lot of little question marks. That's where the actual file isn't there. And so it can't connect. So let's say if you were storing your photos in the cloud, if you were offline, you're not going to be able to get to those because that's where it is. But Lightroom will still show those pictures in the catalog.
Yeah.
It just will have one of those question marks like that would be because it can't reach the cloud at that point.
Yeah, and the key is from what Jackie shared, if I'm on my mobile device, it's actually storing those files on my mobile device and syncing them up. So it's taking up space, not in the cloud, but on my mobile device.
Yeah, just once again, wherever you have your pictures stored, just like it would be a hard drive, it's just a different location.
If you
Yeah.
wanted to, if you have your, I keep going over this because I'm not sure that we're on the same page yet. If you have pictures stored on an external hard drive at home, and you've synced it to the cloud so that you can now see it on your mobile device, it still is never going to live on your mobile device because it actually is on your computer at home. But your mobile device can see a thumbnail of that picture, and you can do edits to that thumbnail while on your phone or tablet. And then once you get back to opening up your Lightroom on your desktop, the cloud automatically will sync if you have it turned on, and it will take the thumbnail edits, those XMP information, and it will move it over to your hard drive once it's connected. So if it's an external one, once you connect that external hard drive and you're working in Lightroom, in the background, it is syncing all those different things you did to it on your mobile device back to the file that lives in a hard drive at home. But it's never really taking up, XMP files aren't super big either. There's a little bit of space involved, but not like a image can have with edits could be a gig all by itself. So it's never taken up that kind of space.
Thanks, Jackie. That makes sense now because it does have the XMP file and the little image on the device, but not the full image. So
Yes.
Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah. So yeah, and I hope that was a question mark that it sounds like we did get corrected. So
I have one thing to add about your photos and where they are, because I've really messed up terribly. I'm working on getting stuff unmessed, but it's going to be a long haul. One time when I didn't know at all I still don't know what I'm doing a lot of the time, but when I didn't know anything about it, I kept seeing in my hard drive, I saw, well, I've got 2 copies of this. So I was busy deleting one of the copies of these kind of randomly, but I was deleting the second copy. Well, that was the actual image, and it really messed things up. You're not supposed to do anything outside of Lightroom, anything to your photos. And I didn't catch on to that for a long time. So I was doing stuff on the hard drive and then doing other stuff, and it's really messed me up.
Well,
So-
before I knew what was going on, I did something similar. I didn't understand what XMP files were at one time. This has been a long time ago. And so I'm cleaning up files, I dumped all my XMP files. You know what happens when you dump all your XMP files? You lose every single edit you've ever made. So don't delete an XMP file, because that's what's telling Lightroom what edits you made. And if you delete them, you have to start your edit over. But yeah. And I think if anybody that took my class on Lightroom back, it was 2019 when I did that. We went over making sure that you are writing to an XMP file as opposed to overwriting your original file. So, you know, we could get back into that, but I will just, instead of doing that here, I will just refer you back to Riverbend's YouTube channel and go to class number 1 and just watch it, because you know, it's all 100% relevant. That class is broken down into 2 parts simply because it was a 2-hour class that night, and it just, you know, to load it into YouTube, Scott would know this answer. I think it has to be I don't know that you can have one that long in there, but I don't know about that. That's not my thing. Before we can continue going down this road if you've got more questions on this, but I want to make sure we get all Dave's questions answered. So let me just look here. So anyway, Dave, the next question was how to get images into Lightroom and storage locations. So I think we've talked about it. And again, I've referenced you back to watching that video, because I think it'll make more sense to you if you watch that video and you can ingest it just a little bit at a time or at a slower pace, rather than us telling you all this really fast and you don't have time to look at your computer to do it. And then how do you find your files once you've got them loaded? Well, hopefully seeing this catalog system answers that question. So if I knew I put it in travel, that's where I'm going to find it.
That makes quite a bit of difference, yeah.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, absolutely.
There, you know, and I wish I would have done it from the very beginning, but using keywords helps to find pictures.
Yes, I've regretted, I don't keyword, but I've regretted not keywording. It's
Yeah.
from time to time.
It's great. You know, if you want a flower, a picture of a flower that you took in Greece, you know, you can keyword Greece, flower, rose, petunia, whatever. you
Yeah.
know, and
It
I
takes
did-
some time, so to keyword, but it can come in real handy if you want to, if you're gonna use it, it comes in really handy to have it done. And there's this bar up at the top. So we're in collections, but it really doesn't matter. We'll just go to this is just one of the files that I have. And at the top, so this is the grid mode. At the top, you see this text, attribute, metadata, and none. So if you want to find stuff sometimes, this is, if you've never used this is a great place to go. If you know that you've done edits to this file and you want to find it, if you click on attributes, I have to move this so I can see. There are a bunch of things you could, if you use flags as your system and you knew that you probably, because it was a picture you liked, you probably flagged it with a white flag. You just hit this and any picture that has a white flag on it will come up in this particular file folder. You know, it won't work for flowers because I'm in the travel section of Hawaii. So, you know, or if you want to find the ones that aren't tagged, you can uncheck the white one, check the unflagged ones. This is all the pictures that are unflagged. I'll uncheck that, and these are all the ones that need to be deleted. They're scheduled for deletion. Or they've been marked with a black flag. You can do it by star ratings. You know, if you want to find one that has any star, just click on one. If you want to find the 5 stars only, then you click on the 5 stars. And if you want to get that out of there, then you just re-click and it'll go away. You can do it by color. Say, you know that you always take panos and you label them with blue, then you can click on the blues and you'll find that the file images that have been filtered with blue, I obviously don't have any. I have green ones. To me, green means I finished the edit on them. And so that's how I can find those. So those are neat tools up there. Metadata, you can get in here and you can do it by date. You could do it by the camera that you used to take it, by the lens that you used, or the color label that you put on the image. Now, you can set these up. So if you don't want to filter by lenses, but you'd rather have, we'll say f-stop. I don't know what actually, you have other options, all these options. So you can customize it to filter the way, you know, you want. So you just have 4 different options that you can have in that band across there. And then like Joaquin was talking about, you can do a filter by text. So you could type in petunia and anything you'd keyworded with petunia, even file named petunia will show up. And that's how you can get to that.
Now that's different than looking for keywords, isn't it, Jackie?
Well, you can do it any searchable field, or you can do keywords only, or you can do title, file name only, whatever so you can pick what you want. If you have any searchable field, then it will key in on the keywords. Did I answer your question?
I think so.
And then
Right.
you can do it contains all. So if you had petunias and poinsettias, you know, then it would have to say both petunias and poinsettias, or you can just do words or whatever. So you have, you know, you can get more specific.
Can I ask everybody a question?
Yes.
Does anybody have any experience? I think this software is called Xide. And what it does, it'll put keywords on all of your pictures. So it's not going to be perfect, but it'll find people. It'll find like a dog, but there might be a horse or a sheep in there. You know, it's going to find cars and a red barn. So it goes and does the keywording for you, supposedly with AI intelligence. I've been tempted because I don't have very many keywords on my stuff, very few. Does anybody know anything about it or used it?
John, does that put the keyword into the metadata and then that would automatically show up in Lightroom?
Yes, that's what it's supposed to do. It's got about a 400-word vocabulary. You know, I'm assuming sunsets, cars, you know, animals, people. Okay, so I'm guessing nobody has ever gone and used that.
No, but it sounds neat if it, you know.
It's $100 software. It used to be, I think it was 50 when it first came out. But, and I don't know. I know I downloaded a test and that's where I got, I looked the word dogs and it got a heck of a lot of dogs. And then there was a couple sheep and a couple horses. So they were 4-legged creatures. But that's pretty good. I'm okay with that. So I've got about 35,000 images in my, you know, all of them. So I'm a little bit behind you, Jackie. But if I wanted to find a specific thing, it's like, I know I got it. I don't know where the heck it is.
Well, and I
So-
think that's probably when it's a really good product for, if you find that you pretty much can find all your stuff because you have a really good memory, then you're probably good without it. But
Not that good.
if you know you can never find anything, that's when keywords probably would be your best friend. And if it means a software to do it, then maybe it's worthwhile.
Oh, I think the amount of time it would take me to put keywords into all the pictures, it seems like $100 is a bargain.
Yeah.
So is what I'm thinking.
You if we were all doing it right, you would be doing keywords upon import. But the
Yeah.
thing is, you can keyword, like if you did a trip, we'll just say, because I have Hawaii up, we'll say Hawaii. If you did a trip to Hawaii and you keyworded all the pictures from Hawaii with Hawaii, that would be accurate. But when you say you want palm trees, well, not every picture has palm trees. So then you have to pick out specifically the ones that have palm trees and mark those with that particular keyword. You don't want to put a palm tree on a pineapple picture or something, so I mean, you might because of ease, but if you were doing it accurately, I guess you wouldn't. But you can also, and we could get into this sometime, is you can mark, like go through a file, and at the bottom of this file, I gotta move my bar here a second so I can see what I'm talking about. Well, I'll close it up. Okay, at the bottom of this file, you'll see there's this spray can right here. You can use that to go in and mark, like you can put it, you can use it to keywords. So you will say, okay, I'm going to go through my whole Hawaii folder and I'm going to mark everything that has palm trees in it. And then you can just like click, and you'd be clicking on the picture and spraying it essentially. And then it sprays the keyword onto that area. So you can use that. That's another way to do it. But you still have to, describe every picture. The keywording is just a lot of work, in my opinion. You can tell.
Everything on the screen is palm trees, but then half of them are sunsets.
Yeah. So you would want maybe daytime, and then you'd want to tag some with sunset. Some you might want to say clouds. Some don't have
Right.
clouds. Some have a boat in them. Some don't have a boat in them. It's like, so it gets a little tedious, I think, but
It sure is. Why didn't I do it right 8 years ago?
I'm sorry, what?
Why didn't I do it right 8 years ago?
Yeah, but when you're importing 300 pictures in an evening, the last thing you want to do sometimes is dink around with keywords and you don't ever need them. It's I don't
No
know.
kidding.
I've done some, but I haven't been accurate with it. Mine are never precise. I'll say that. The one last question Dave had, I think, Dave, you can tell us if we've covered all the information, but was how do you get your edited images out of Lightroom once you've done them? Anybody want to take that one?
What do you
don't
mean
take
by
it
get them
now.
out?
You
I
stay.
can tell you what I do.
They
Well,
stay.
I'm only assuming what he meant, and I may be wrong on this one, but I'm assuming that he meant, you've edited them. Now you want to use them or print them or whatever. Dave, you can tell me if that's right. And so now how do you get that out of?
You export them, don't you?
You export them.
Yeah.
Port them in whatever file format and whatever size you want.
Where do you put them?
Wherever you're gonna
Whatever
use
you
them.
want.
You
If
put 'em
you,
where you use them. Otherwise, you wait till you need them. And then you can export them to a special file for whatever the purpose is or something.
yeah, so if you're exporting JPEGs, because you want to print them, we'll just say, you either put them directly into the file that you stored your images in, Or maybe you made another file that just has JPEGs in it. That's up to you. It's one of those things you have to decide what makes sense to you. But you could have, it on your hard drive. And you can do it through Lightroom, and then Lightroom will be able to find it. Sometimes you have to re-import them. Even though it's being exported with Lightroom, sometimes you will have to tell Lightroom you want to re-import it. If, say you want to put it right in the folder that you stored all your Hawaii picture in. And so I wanted to create a JPEG because I wanted to print one of them. And so I will make the JPEG by exporting it, and it will ask you, okay, so you go up to File, Export. It opens this screen. It will ask you where you want to export. So that's the big thing. So you can tell it, do you want it to go on your desktop? Do you want it to go to a hard drive? Wherever specifically it is. So if it's a specific folder, we want to do a specific folder. You can make a new subfolder in that specific folder. So in this case, Hawaii, I want to put it in my Hawaii folder. And I want to put it under, I'm just going to make this up, palm trees. Oops, I can't spell trees. Okay. And then you'll scroll down. Do you want to rename it? You could name it Sunset Palm Trees JPEG, and it will tell you JPEG, so you don't have to add that, but you can choose how you want to rename it if you hit rename, or you can just use the file system that you've got going. You're going to go down here, tell it to make a JPEG in this example. Quality, I always do 100, that's me. And then you can resize it or not. I wouldn't resize it if I was going to print it. You can add sharpening. You could put a watermark on it. And then once you've checked all these scenarios that you want, I don't have anything going, but it would say export. And this would be highlighted, and you hit export and it will do just what you told it to do. Again, that you will find more details in one of those classes. I didn't look that up, so I would have to, I don't know what class night it was on, but.
Okay,
If you're
I
gonna,
understand. I understand what you're saying, and I just have to start collections, I guess.
Well, you
So what-
wouldn't do that in collections. That would be in your file system. That'd be in your catalog.
Catalog, that's what I mean, catalog.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, okay, that helps a lot. As
if
you've
you're going
answered
to-
everything I want to know.
if you're going to import, like for competition or for sharing, you might have a folder on your desktop or something. What I do is I have a folder on my desktop,
Yeah, I
and I
do.
export them to the folder on my desktop. I go through all of that, but it's on my desktop and I name it, for sharing or something. And then I can just do that. And then I can just delete those because they're still, the master's still in Lightroom.
Right. So
It
you
hasn't gotten rid of anything at all. It's just made another like you made a copy of it, a duplicate copy, and just send it in. And now you're not going to need to send it in anymore, so you can delete it.
So yeah, so you can either have one that you just continually clean out, like Marty just said, if you in her example, or you could even say, I can never remember if I turned one in January. Did I use the same picture that I'm wanting to turn in February, or those are close months, but we'll say last year. Did I use this picture before? Sometimes I'll keep them for a while, and I might label it like February of 2023, and I will keep that folder maybe for a year or so, and then I'll dump it. So you can put it right into a folder and do it that way. You can just tell, you just have to make whatever makes sense to you, and I think that was a really good example that Marty gave you. Okay, anybody else want to comment on any of that? I knew I'd have a hard time not chiming in all the time.
Well, you know an awful lot about it, so that's good.
Has anybody got any other questions about anything we've talked about so far on this?
Yeah, Jackie, when you want to sync in Lightroom Mobile, can you quickly show how do you click on that lightning bolt?
Yeah, so like so you can only do that through collections. So you'll go down and we'll just make a new collection. So we'll say I wanted to sync one of my pictures from my Lightroom on my desktop. I want to sync it to my phone so I can show it when I go to the party. I can show people my vacation picture or whatever. And so I would come up here and I hit plus. Let me, yeah, so we're going to create a collection. And it's going to ask me, what do I want to name my collection? So I'll just say Hawaii pics, since I got it up. And so I will title it, oops, Hawaii pics. And then I want to put it somewhere. So where do I want to put it? Is it going to just be floating by itself, which it can be? So if you don't want to put it inside of a collection set, it can just be a collection. And I can't scroll right now, but I'll show you that in a minute, because I do have a bunch of them that are just collections. Well, these, yeah, that are not housed in a collection set. So we'll say we do want to put them in a set. So I'm going to say I want to put it inside a collection set. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to look for it. And since it's travel, we'll just go down and put it in travel. And I don't have any collections now made for Hawaii. So I'll just pick travel. And do I want to include the selected photos? So right now you can see this particular picture is selected, but this one is not. So if I want to go ahead and enter, because I might have maybe pre-selected all of the, 50 that I had, we'll just say, I'm making things up. So if I had 50 that I wanted to put in this collection, maybe I pre-selected them. So they're all highlighted. And then I could include those selected photos. If I don't want to, because I'm actually not even in the right folder, I don't want to move it, then I'll uncheck that. So you can decide whether this is the correct time to be putting those in there or not. And then we'll say not for this case. And then sync with Lightroom. Okay, so I want to show it on my mobile something. So I'm going to click sync with Lightroom and I'm going to create it. So I'm just ready to hit create. So now I'm going to come down and look for it so I can show you. And it didn't come in here.
Okay, you're doing this, Jackie,
It was further
so
down.
that I can get pictures from Lightroom and look at them on my cell phone.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. All right.
Hawaii pics.
Oh, there it is. I thought I picked travel. All right, so well, this is a good opportunity to show how to fix something that I messed up. So obviously I didn't click where I thought I had. I wanted that to be up here in travel. Oh, it's in the travel. Okay, geez. It's not that late, but I don't know. It is in travel. If I close this up, all these are part of travel. I just have collection sets of these that are also in travel. So it's there. Sorry, I just got a little scoot around. So anyway, so you can see it's syncing right now. So if it hasn't got any images in it, because I didn't select the image to go in there. So now we need to get images into it. So let's go back up to my file folders. Back to Hawaii. All right, so I'm just going to pick these first 3 images and I'm going to hit click one and then I'm going to, or shift click to the other. And now I'm going to scroll back down to my collection set. or my collection, yeah, my collections folder. And now I'm simply going to drag and drop. And when I release, it's highlighted now. You can see it's highlighted. I'm going to release it. And now there's 3 pictures in there. So if I click on it, there are those 3 pictures. It didn't take it out of my file folder. It still is up in that original file folder in the catalog. It doesn't take them out of there. It just makes a thumbnail or a little snapshot of the pictures I wanted to move down here. Does that make sense? So this is essentially, it's not a copy. It's just an image representing what is up in one of my file folders.
So how do you then sync it, Jackie?
So see this, it is syncing itself. And if you come up, yours would have your name here or whatever, it might say Lightroom Classic. And if you hit that arrow, well, yeah. It used to say syncing, it doesn't now. I've got so many things open on this computer.
Maybe they're already there.
Well, yeah, usually it says you can stop sync or sync. Oh, it's up here now. It's been a while since I've used it. See this little cloud thing here? Up in the upper bar at the end, you probably have a cloud up there too. And if you click on it, this is where the syncing is happening. And it's syncing 10 photos. Mine has 4 photos that sync forever. So I'm going to say it's syncing 6 other photos. 3 of them are right here. I don't know what the other 3 are, but obviously it didn't matter. But anyway, so it's getting these to my phone, essentially. So once I go, so it's putting them in the cloud is what it's doing. And then you'll go to your phone and you can't see, yeah, you can see me. Can you see me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to open my, oh, you can't see my phone though. Oh, well, I thought I was going to show you my phone. I brought up my Lightroom app. And once you open it, then give it some time and it will actually sync. So these pictures are being synced up to the cloud. Then you're going to open your phone or your tablet and you're going to go into the Lightroom app. And it's going to then go up to the cloud. So it's going to go up to the cloud, get whatever was synced up there and bring it back to the phone. And sometimes it's fairly fast and sometimes it takes just a little bit of time. And it will sync. And you can see it on the app if it's syncing too, or if it's done. Mine says I can pause syncing, which this one does too on my desktop. You can see that. Or I can just let it sync. And then it'll be there. There's so much about the cloud stuff that's in there and I don't use it. So I'm not an authority by any means. I stumble around through it. Anything else that you want to all discuss?
I'll ask. Okay, I don't want you to explain it, but I assume you had to set up the cloud way back in history. My Lightroom is not going to do what yours just did. Because I've never set it up for a cloud. As far as I know, my stuff does not go to the cloud.
Your sync stuff would, I think it just automatically does it, John. I think when you install Lightroom, if you
Really?
go to that little cloud thing, you have so much cloud space that comes with your Lightroom. And
Is this an Adobe cloud?
yeah,
Okay. All right, I got to look into that. I don't think I have a cloud in the upper right-hand corner of my Lightroom. Because I'm pretty darn sure I've never set it up.
it's been there so
You're
long,
right.
I thought it was always there, so I'm not positive. Yeah, did somebody have an answer for that?
I think it's an automatic thing you get with Lightroom that
Oh.
it can do it with the Adobe cloud. You have to be careful though, because Adobe charges a lot for their cloud if you go over the small amount you're given. For
Okay.
the
Oh,
Lightroom
might be
catalog
over
with
You're
that.
given 20 gigs, John.
Yeah.
Really? I got
Yeah.
less than that.
Well,
Holy-
that's what Lightroom gives you, 20 gigs. If you can see my screen, and I've used 7.4 of it on my stuff that I've synced with my iPhone and tablet. I just don't use it very often, and if I do, I'll clear it out every now and then, but I have quite a few files that I can.
All right, my
store
brain
on
just engaged. It's not 20 terabytes, it's 20 gigs.
20 gig.
gigs.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. Nope, I'm over that.
Yeah, and that's because
Okay.
those thumbnails don't take up much space, so they don't have to give you a ton. If you were gonna store files on, then now we're talking space you would need, but I don't even know what's possible there. Maybe.
Jackie?
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
no, I don't.
I have Google Photos on my phone, and somehow or other I have all my photos in there, which takes up a lot of room. Do you just save into Lightroom to show them on your phone or your tablet, or do you also have something like Google Photos or one of those kinds of things?
I do have Google Photos on there. I don't use mine, like it sounds like you do. I have just my pictures on my, they used to call it a camera roll. I don't know that they do that anymore, but, so that's not, Google
Yeah, I
Photos.
just looked for camera roll and I couldn't find it.
Mine's just in Photos. Which has got that, looks like a multicolored flower thing, but there's also Google Photos. And I don't do anything in that, so I don't know what to tell you about that. Maybe somebody else on here does. But if you wanted to take a picture from Google Photos, I can't even go there. From your photo file, you can import those into Lightroom so you can edit them. And then they will exist as a thumbnail in your Lightroom Mobile. I'm going to call it Lightroom Mobile. I know it's called Lightroom, but Lightroom Mobile is the one that's on my phone, and Lightroom is the one on my desktop. I'm back about 7 years now. So, but so did that answer your question, Connie? Probably not.
I think so. I'm gonna have to play around here with it.
Yeah, I can't help you on that one. That's not my thing, but so I did want to ask if anybody had any questions related to the class we had the other night on the masking panel. So if you don't have any questions on that, great, I guess. Hopefully that meant I explained it thoroughly. So if you do, by all means. So if you come up with questions when we're done with this meeting that you would like answered by any of us, feel free to email me. I can send it out to the group for an answer. If I don't have an answer, I'll be happy to help you out with my answer if I have one. And that, to any question or anything we've talked about tonight, if you have more questions, just ask. If you want to share something that you've seen online or, videos, or you've tried a technique or whatever, great, we can share those. I also think it'd be fun to share photos and images that we've taken and edited, just to show befores and afters, what you can do in Lightroom, because it just gets better all the time. I used to definitely want to go into Photoshop, but it's getting less and less imperative to go in there. So, although I still do like Photoshop, but anything else you guys wanted to talk about? Dead quiet, guess not. Okay, so if you do, speak up.
Covered quite a bit tonight.
Good.
How about that holding penalty?
Yeah, that
Oh,
was, he said he was holding. I'm telling you, he said he admitted to
We
holding.
say he was holding.
Yep, they hold all the time. Somebody said, every play, always holding. It's just a matter of some of them they let go and some of them they don't. And at the end of the game, I'm sure that's why they called that one. But he was holding and he admitted it. Thank goodness.
Evidently, we changed subjects in the middle, in the stream.
But I knew exactly what he was talking about.